Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Community Development and Regulatory Services Committee for today, October 24th. I've been joined by Council Members Quincy, Frey, and Reich, which is a quorum of our committee. I'm going to first start by moving a couple of the consent agenda items so staff don't have to stay. That includes item 9, which is our liquor business and gambling licenses, item 10, which is setting a public hearing for an ordinance considering assessing fees during pending license action, and also item number 11, which is our Great Streets Program Areas categorization. Item 14, which is the Minneapolis Homes Property Sign Policy, and item 15, which are the contract amendments for property maintenance. So I'm moving all of the items on the consent agenda except for items 12 and 13 because we'll have a presentation from staff on those items. So is there anyone like to pull of those consent items? Seeing none, on the chair's motion to approve, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those items are approved. We'll then move on to our public hearing agenda, starting with item number 1. Thank you all for being here. Ms. Shaw, welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Today we have 3 projects requesting property assessed clean energy or PACE financing. The PACE program allows Minneapolis businesses to finance energy efficiency improvements to their facilities through an agreement with the St. Paul Port Authority. The St. Paul Port Authority provides upfront capital to finance the energy improvements, which is then paid back through a special assessment placed on the property. Under Minneapolis statute, a public hearing is required for all special assessments. You have before you a request to hold a public hearing and pass a resolution adopting the assessment, levying the assessment, and adopting the assessment rule on 3 separate projects in the city of Minneapolis. And the first project is 2746 31st Avenue LLC. The LLC owns a property located at 2746 31st Avenue and also owns the main tenant, which is a technology company called SPY. At this time, the LLC is going to purchase and install a 134 kilowatt rooftop solar system. The total project cost is $438,000. Eligible PACE amount of $254,000 will be divided between 2 property ID numbers for the same address. $231,000 and $23,000 will be financed at a 4.5% interest rate and will be paid back through 20 assessments over the term of 10 years starting in 2018. And the system will result in a savings of 450 million BTUs and $15,000 annually. Do you have any questions about the project?
Are there any questions for Ms. Shaw on item number 1? Seeing none, thank you for your report. We'll open the public hearing on item number 1, which is a property assessed clean energy or PACE financing project for a property located at 2746 31st Avenue South. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Quincy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move approval of item number 1.
Item number 1 has been moved. Further comments and questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to item number 2. Ms. Shaw.
Okay, the second project is Intelligent Nutrients located at 321 Lincoln Street Northeast. Intelligent Nutrients is an environmentally focused organic and natural hair care company, and at this time they're planning to upgrade 8 HVAC units on the factory, warehouse, and salon with new highly efficient systems. The total project in the amount of $100,000 will be financed through PACE at 4.5% interest rate. The loan will be paid back through 20 installments over a term of 10 years starting in 2018, and the new systems will result in the savings of 380 million BTUs and $13,000 annually. Do you have any questions about this project?
Are there any questions for Ms. Shaw on item number 2? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 2, which is a PACE financing program for Intelligent Nutrients at 321 Lincoln Street Northeast. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Frey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Happy to move approval of this item.
Approval has been moved of item 2. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. On to item number 3, Ms. Shaw.
The third project is for a 6-unit apartment complex located at 2841 33rd Avenue South. The complex is owned by borrower 3800 28th Avenue South LLC. The borrower is requesting PACE financing to install a 10 kilowatt roof mount solar array, LED lighting throughout the common areas, new entry doors, and 2 electrical vehicle charging stations in the parking lot. The total project cost is $60,000 and will save an estimated 105 million BTUs and an annual of $3,000 in energy costs per year. The $60,000 assessment will be placed in or paid back in 20 increments over a 10-year term, also starting in 2018.
Are there any questions for Ms. Shaw on item number 3? Seeing none, thank you for your report. We'll open the public hearing on item number 3, which is a PACE financing project at 3800 28th Avenue South. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Frey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move approval of item number 3.
Approval of item number 3 has been moved. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to item number 4. Mr. Curtis, welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the committee, good afternoon. What you have before you is a request for preliminary and final approval of 501c3 tax-exempt revenue bonds in the amount not to exceed $27,750,000. It is for the MIMCS Building Company, which is a real estate holding company. It's for a 110,000 square foot facility at 277 12th Avenue North. And the facility is currently occupied and will continue to be occupied by the Minnesota International Middle School and the Twin Cities National Elementary School. The two schools are also 501c3s, and there are approximately 1,000 students that go there. The real estate company was created because the state law does not allow these charter schools to own their facilities, but they will be the responsible entities for paying the debt and maintaining the facilities. There are representatives here if anyone should have questions.
Are there any questions for staff or the representatives on this project? Seeing none, thank you for your report. We'll open the public hearing on item number 4, which is the issuance of $27,775,000 in 501c3 tax-exempt bonds for MIMCS Building Company for the acquisition, renovation, and equipment of a charter school at 2277 12th Avenue North. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Who's here from the project? Are you hiding? Okay. Did you want to say something?
We're happy with the staff report. We're able to answer questions.
Okay. Are there any questions for staff or the applicants? Seeing none, thank you for being here today. I'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Quincy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move approval of this item.
Item number 4 has been moved for approval. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to our regulatory services public agenda, starting with item number 5. Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item 5 is a request for an extended hours license by Northeast BP. They are located at 2636 University Avenue Northeast. They currently operate a gasoline filling station, grocery, and tobacco shop at that address. The hours of operation currently allowed in that district are from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. and from 6 during the week, and from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. Friday and Saturday. They are seeking a 24 hours a day, 7 days a week license. This is in the Marshall Terrace neighborhood in Ward 1. The site is not adjacent to residential dwellings. It's industrial nature. The owners have met with the 2nd Precinct Police Department and did a security plan review associated with this application. They have no significant recommendations, and there are no significant police calls for service at this address or complaints. A public hearing is required for this license application, and we did notify all property owners and residents that are located within 300 feet of the premises. We also notified the concerned citizens of Marshall Terrace Neighborhood Association and the Northeast Minneapolis Chamber of Commerce. We did receive one response from that notification process, and it was in support of the application, and that was from the Marshall Terrace Neighborhood Association. Staff's review of the application finds that this application, or staff does recommend that the application be approved.
Are there any questions for Mr. Wilson on item number 5? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 5, which is a new license, an extended hours license for Northeast BP. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Reich.
Madam Chair, I move the staff recommendation.
Councilmember Reich is moved to approve. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to item number 6. Mr. Wilson.
Madam Chair, we have an application by Limelight Concepts LLC for a new on-sale liquor license with Sunday sales Class E. This will be located at 130 East Hennepin Avenue in a newly constructed building. This is located on 130 East Hennepin, which is just east of the former Nye's Polonaise restaurant site. This is in the Nicollet Island East Bank neighborhood in Ward 3. This restaurant will have seating for 77 persons inside and 14 outside. They will provide full service food service all hours of their operation. A public hearing is required for this application, and we did notify all property owners and residents within 600 feet of the premises of today's public hearing, and also the Nicollet Island East Bank Neighborhood Association and the Historic Northeast Business Association. We received one response from that notification process, and it was in support of the application. Staff finds this application meets all of our requirements and recommends approval.
Are there any questions for Mr. Wilson on item number 6? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 6, which is a Sidewalk Café and new business license for the Sonder Shaker. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Is there anyone here from the... Nope. Oh. Do you want to come up and tell us about what you're doing? Yeah.
So we're opening a small-scale restaurant. We're going to focus on craft cocktails and an open kitchen concept, and we just really want to be a great part of the Northeast neighborhood.
Great. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Frey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move approval.
Item number 6 has been moved for approval. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll then move to item number 7, which is being presented by Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have an application by the Hennepin Theater Trust at 900 Hennepin Avenue to upgrade their on-sale liquor license with Sunday sales at a new location, which is 900 Hennepin Avenue, formerly operated by Solera. This is in the downtown west neighborhood in Ward 7. The Hennepin Theater Trust is a Minnesota nonprofit organization operating for several years in this area and currently holds other beverage alcohol licenses in good standing. This upgrade does require today's public hearing. We did mail 92 notices to residents and property owners within 400 feet of this address, and also the Downtown Minneapolis Neighborhood Association and the Warehouse District Business Association. We received no responses for or against the application. It appears to meet all of the ordinance requirements, and staff's recommendation is that the application be approved.
Are there any questions for Mr. Wilson on item number 7? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 7, which is a liquor license with Sunday sales for the Hennepin Theater Trust. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Frey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move approval of item number 7.
Item number 7 has been moved. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to our quasi-judicial public hearing, which is item number 8, chaired by Councilmember Frey.
We have one item on the quasi-judicial hearing agenda for today, which is item number 8, plumber/gas license revocation at Oak Grove Plumbing Services at 5637 Colfax Avenue North. Here to present is Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Vice Chair Frey. On October 9th of this year, the Minnesota Department of Revenue notified the City of Minneapolis and issued a notice of license revocation for debt regarding non-payment of taxes by Oak Grove Plumbing Services, LLC, and Ronald Schultz. They currently have a valid City of Minneapolis plumbing and gas fitter licenses. The notice from the Department of Revenue requires us to revoke licenses held by this company within 30 days of receipt of that notice. We did notify Oak Grove Plumbing Services of today's hearing. We mailed that notice on October 16th. As of today, we have not received a tax clearance certificate from the Department of Revenue, and staff's recommendation is that this license be revoked.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Any questions for staff at the moment? So we're going to open this up to a public hearing that is limited to hearing from the representative, licensee, or the representative of the licensee. Are they here today? Is anyone here today to discuss this item? Anyone here to discuss this item? Seeing none, I will close this item. I will move approval. First, just a quick question for Mr. Wilson. Oak Grove Plumbing Services, is that operating out of either the Oak Grove area, street, or building? There's several actually, Oak Grove buildings in Minneapolis. Is that where this plumbing service comes from, or no? You may
Vice
not
Chair
know.
Frey, I believe this plumbing company is located in Oak Grove, Minnesota, which is a northern suburb, and they were providing
that makes
work in
sense.
Minneapolis, obtaining permits from our system, and thus needed our license to work in Minneapolis.
Understood. Thank you. So I'm moving approval of the staff recommendation and revocation. Any further discussion on this item? All those in approval, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. That item passes. Madam Chair.
We'll then move on to our two remaining items that we'll take item 13 first. These were consent items that we're going to have a staff presentation on both of them. We'll ask for Ms. Crowther to give a presentation, and if you are here from Ann Prospect Park or Maya Commons, feel free to stand so we can acknowledge you. We're happy that you're here.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Community Planning and Economic Development, acting on behalf of the Minneapolis-St. Paul Housing Finance Board, administers an allocation of federal low-income tax credits every year. This is year 2018, even though we're only in year 2017. The City of Minneapolis, as a suballocator, received $1.230513 million of tax credits. We put out an RFP in August and the deadline in July, and the deadline was in August. We received 4 proposals. We chose 2 of those proposals. The top ranking one was Park 7. We did not fund that because the state funded that with a deferred loan, so therefore the city did not have to bring in any tax credits. Aon Prospect Park received a prior allocation, and it was our belief that it ranked well enough and that we should close that one out and complete the tax credit allocation. The Maya Commons ranked next, and that was the next highest ranking project, so we funded that project. Paris Foundation was the lowest ranking project, and we had no more tax credits to give to that project. We are ready to move forward with a reservation, putting the tax credits in order for the Aon Prospect Park and the Maya Commons project.
Ms. Crowther, if we fund Maya Commons, will that be the full amount they need, or will that be a
No,
portion?
they'll have to come back next year for the remaining credits.
So they'll still have credits?
But Aon will be completed.
Okay.
Aon Prospect Park.
And is someone here from Aon on this project? I just wanted to note that last year, when the tax credit pricing fell as a result of Trump being elected, Aon gave back credits to YouthLink so that YouthLink could close, and then they had to wait, and now they're being completed this year. And on behalf of the city, we want to thank you for doing that. It shows incredible partnership on behalf of all of the different organizations, including the people that are in the room today, to attempt to get projects to closing during this very difficult time. And Aon really stepped up in a way that no one else could, because you were allocated tax credits, and hopefully with a partial this year, we'll be able to fund the next one in line next year and clear out some of these projects that have been in the pipeline for quite a long time. So please pass on our warm thanks to Alan Arthur and your team, and for being so patient and getting your project off the ground. Are there further questions or comments about our tax credit projects? Is anyone here from Maya Commons? Yep, thank you very much for being here and for the work that you're doing. We appreciate your patience in the process as well. Further comments from Ms. Crowther? Councilmember Warsame? Selectman.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on 12-7.
We're on item 13.
We're on 13. Okay, all right, sorry. I just, I love that project, so I just wanted to comment.
You will get to say that. Okay, and then I'm going to move approval of the staff recommendation. One of the thing I will say to the good folks at Paris is it looks like you're next. Well, Maya Commons will need to finish out, and then you'll be right in line, and as of this moment, there aren't any other projects. I'll also note to the good folks at Park 7, who I know are here in the 7th Ward, you've waited 3 years, maybe 4, for tax credits, and so I'm thrilled to see that you're going to get this project off the ground and that the state was able to do the right thing and get this project funded. And we'll talk about that project in the trust fund awards. On the chair's motion to approve the staff recommendation on item number 13, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. Ms. Flack, you're going to be doing the presentation on the trust fund awards. So we'd just like to hear each of the projects that the staff is recommending funding, and the folks who are here for those projects, if they would raise their hand, that would be great. We'll also do the same thing for the projects that did not get funded. We'd ask you to raise your hand if you're here for that project as well. I think it's important just to know how many people are working collectively on getting all of these projects done. So Ms. Flack.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm glad to be here to present this year's round of projects being recommended for the 2017 round of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Today, I'm presenting recommendations for 9 projects totaling $8.8 million, which leaves approximately $84,000 for projects via the pipeline in accordance with the priorities in the RFP. The recommended awards are as follows. One, the first project is a supplemental award for $150,000 for Minnehaha Commons. This project is 43 units of supportive housing for seniors experiencing homelessness. This project first received an award in 2016, and it will close next year in 2018. The second project is a supplemental award for $225,000 for Aon Prospect Park. This project is a 70-unit affordable and market rate housing project for families 1 block from the Prospect Park light rail station, and this project also includes 7 units of supportive housing for homeless families with dependent children. This project first applied in 2015. They received a pipeline approval in 2016, and it will close in 2018 now that we've finished out the tax credits on that project. The third project is an award of $350,000 for the preservation of Many Rivers Apartments. This project is 53 units of existing affordable housing, including 7 project-based Section 8 units serving primarily Native Americans. This project is also seeking an AHTF award in the spring, and it will be fully funded then for closing in 2018. We're also doing a supplemental award of $625,000 for Park 7. This project is 61 units of supportive housing for single adults experiencing homelessness in downtown Minneapolis. This project first received an award in 2015, and now again, as it's coming together with the tax credits, we're giving them their final award, and they will close in 2018. The next project is an award of $2,300,000 for the preservation of Olson Townhomes redevelopment Phase 1. This project is 92 replacement units for existing deteriorating Section 8 units serving families and seniors. The city has been working with several other funders on this project for over a decade to preserve these units, so we're pleased to see this one coming together. We're giving a partial award of $750,000 for Penn Avenue Union. This project is 64 units of mixed income, mixed-use housing for families. This project also includes nonprofit program space, a restaurant, and a police substation. This project first applied in 2016, and this year is being recommended for a partial award as its funding is coming together. The next project we're recommending an award of is $1,128,494 for the preservation of Ebenezer Lorne on Park Apartments. This project is 78 units of existing senior housing senior apartments with support services, plus the conversion of underutilized office space they have to add 7 additional new units. This is a high priority project under the senior housing policy in which we have a 30% set aside. We're doing a supplemental award of $350,000 for West Broadway Curve West Building. This project is 69 units of affordable and market rate housing on city-owned land serving singles and families, demonstrating for the first time the viability of unsubsidized market rate construction in North Minneapolis. This project first received an award in 2015 and will close in 2018. We're also recommending an award of $2,950,000 for Hook and Ladder. This project is for 118 units of affordable workforce housing for singles and families in 2 5-story buildings, demonstrating innovative energy efficiency and construction techniques. The city has been working with the developer on this project for 2 years, and this project is positioned to close in 2018. In total, these projects will create or preserve 655 units, of which 425 are new construction and 230 are preservation. There are additional details on all 9 projects in your report.
Okay, so do we have any questions with regard to the projects that are being recommended for funding? Councilmember Warsame?
No questions, just a comment.
Oh, please.
Yep. Project number 7, the loan to for the Ebenezer Towers. Big fan of Ebenezer. They're in my ward. They do a great job. The tenants there love them, and I'm very proud that the city is funding this project. Thank you.
So perhaps you could go through all of the projects that are great projects that did not receive funding as well?
Absolutely. There are 6 projects this year that are not being recommended for funding at this time for a variety of reasons, including project readiness and timeliness, as well as financial feasibility. These are all good projects, and staff will continue working with these developers to bring these projects to fruition. These projects are Paris Development, Stadium Lofts, Nick at 36, 510 Lake Street Apartments, Aon Westminster Project, and Midtown Corner.
Okay, are there any questions for staff?
Questions, can I get a motion?
Okay. Thank you for your report. If there's no questions for staff, I do want to make a couple comments, but I will defer to Councilmember Frey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So obviously, there's been a lot of discussion about the allocation of funding for several different affordable housing projects. And, as you read through and as we listen to the projects that were recommended, they're all benevolent, excellent projects. And I really appreciate staff's work on them. I mean, from affordable housing for American Indians and their Community Development Corporation to rehab of Section 8 and 655 units in total that are either being rehabbed or built as affordable. This is a substantial move. I think it really calls to question the amount of money that we ultimately have in the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, which is not enough. $10 million is, for the last 4 years or so has been a record. It's the precedent that we've set. But when you look at the affordable housing crisis that we have right now in our city, when you look at the fact that we're losing 4% and 9% low-income tax credits. The tax credits that are allocated don't have as much value as they used to. I believe we used to get, what was like $1.03 per tax credit. Now we're getting something like 65 cents per tax credit. It's back up now. Okay, well, regardless, it fluctuates. And we are not getting the bang for the buck on subsidy that we used to get. Furthermore, at least according to Donald Trump, we're losing a lot of our community development block grant funding, which was also a significant source for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. So no matter how you break it down, we need to put our money where our mouth is with respect to affordable housing, and $10 million does not cut the mustard. It doesn't begin to cut the mustard. And so a lot of discussion prior to the meeting was surrounding the Paris development, which is an excellent development. I mean, it's a project in a middle and upper income neighborhood. It's serving foster kids that really do need the help. And this is a project that I, Council Chair Goodman, and the rest of my colleagues, I think, up here really want to see move forward. And I have talked with several of the developers and investors in the project, and they've been very clear that they feel that they're in some form of catch-22, and that you can't get the 4% and 9% low-income tax credits unless you have support from the city, but you can't get the support from the city unless you have the 4 and 9% low-income tax credits. And I understand and appreciate that predicament. So we do want to make it very clear that support is there. We do want to move forward. And so working with Council Chair Goodman here, I'd like to move forward with an amendment to the trust fund to fund the Paris development at 1930 Hennepin Avenue out of the residual amount that is left in the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. So there is some money left. It's not an exorbitant amount. but it will offer, it will make it very clear that the city of Minneapolis supports the project, that we want to see it move forward. And additionally, I would like to bolster the Affordable Housing Trust Fund as part of the budget conversation that we will have shortly, and then that money can be allocated to a qualified partner in the first quarter of 2018. And just to be clear, I said qualified partner because I do not want to do an end run round, whatever the phrase is, on the process. We do have a good process. I really appreciate staff's work on this. And I think we can find a solution ultimately that works for everybody and for those that didn't get funded, either partially or in their entirety. As you saw, the 9 projects that moved forward, I think almost all of them have come forward in previous years, in some cases, multiple previous years. Anyway, so my motion is to move to amend the 2017 Affordable Housing Trust Fund project recommendations to include funding of the Paris development at 1930 Hennepin Avenue out of the residual amount of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
Councilmember Reich.
And just for clarification, this isn't an act of favoritism. This is the next highest point scorer of those, or the highest point scorer that did not get funded. And so we are still sticking to the formula. We're just adding some residual dollars to that formula.
That's correct.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Maybe staff could clarify what is the residual amount that's available.
It's roughly 84,000. We had a budget of 10 million, as you mentioned. Earlier this year, we set aside 2 million for a contingency pool. Over the summer, there were 3 projects that were awarded through the pipeline process. So we had roughly 8.9 million available for this round, and we awarded roughly 8.824 million. So there'll be, I will go back and calculate, I think I had 8.913 million left. With the 8.824, we'll make sure that we get the final number into the amended clause.
Okay, great. Did you want to, I guess we'll take that as an amendment. Is there any objection to the amendment? If there's no objection to the amendment, we'll just add it to the main motion and have one vote. Did you have a second amendment you wanted to bring forward, and did you want that to be separate from this action?
Why don't we take this action and then I'll address the second piece that we may not need.
Okay. Everyone's good with that? Okay, then the main motion would be to approve the staff recommendation with the amendment that the residual funding from the trust fund would be allocated to the Paris project in this funding cycle, which amounts to give or take about $84,000. And then, as the staff suggested, we'll be working with all of the projects to get to close, to get to funding, and to get their tax credits. I do want to note 2 of these projects are in my ward or very close to projects that I've worked on. The Aon Westminster project, staff will remember when Westminster built their new building, they eliminated 90 units of SRO housing in the Loring Park neighborhood. And I've been on their case ever since to replace those units somewhere downtown. This project, Aon Westminster, which is at 920 3rd Street South, right in the shadow of the Vikings Stadium, is their attempt to replace those units that I've been bothering them about for so long. This project is not receiving funding in this round and is an important project, and I think we need to note that all of these projects are important. I want to speak briefly to the Paris project as well. I believe this project belongs in this location, and I've said that from the very beginning to the developer. Whether it's 6 stories in one direction or 2 in the other or 4 in the other, 40 units, and the ones reserved for kids aging out of foster care, but our youth and our community belong at this location, not just because of the neighborhood, but because of its location and proximity to downtown. I think this is a very good project. I do think there are some site plan issues, and you've worked to address them, and I think further conversations could happen with neighbors with regard to how Colfax is treated, but that's down the line as it pertains to where site plan is. The staff are very favorable towards this project, as you've heard them say multiple times, as am I and our other people on the committee. Most projects, it takes a little bit of time for them to get funded, and important ones like this, which remind me a lot of the YouthLink project that took 4 years to get done, and Aon to give up tax credits in order for it to happen. So these 2 projects, to me, really stand out. There are other projects on the list in other people's wards who are sitting up here, who I'm sure they feel very passionately about as well. And hopefully they too will have success in the next round. I'm also very supportive of putting more money into the trust fund through the budget process, always have been, and I appreciate Councilmember Frey's leadership in that regard. So on the motion to approve the staff recommendation with Councilmember Frey's amendment, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. And then on your staff direction, Councilmember Frey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'm looking to staff to see whether this staff direction is necessary or not. But the goal is to ultimately have options for the 2018 budget where we can get an additional $500,000 in funding for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, which can be awarded in the first quarter of 2018 to a qualified recipient. So $500,000, and so the ask is getting help finding that money. And so is that something that you would like a staff direction on between the housing and finance? You don't really need it? Mr. Frank?
Sure. Madam Chair, Councilmember Frey, I think what you're asking is, what I hear you asking for is more Affordable Housing Trust Fund money, options for where it should come from.
Yes.
And if you're going to give that staff direction, I'd respectfully suggest that it would not just be directed to CPED, but to our partners in finance to look across other departments as well. So we're obviously very supportive of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund and the work you're hearing about here today. But we have a lot of other great programs that we're not ready to say those should not be funded.
Oh, that makes sense. No, I'm not looking to CPED. I'm looking for your consultation in it, but really I'm looking at finance. So I'm going to go ahead and move the staff direction then. And so as a motion by Frey directing CPED and finance and property services staff to provide options for the 2018 budget to the City Council Budget Subcommittee no later than December 1st for up to $500,000 in additional funding for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, which can then be awarded in first quarter 2018. So, this I think will help to, I'm always for more money in the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. The more affordable projects that we can get funded, the better. Something else that I'll state that, it is almost always easier to get affordable housing projects done in areas that are already low income. Not that you don't need affordable housing projects in areas that are low income, but I think what we need to be doing is diversifying our neighborhoods in terms of socioeconomic background a whole lot more than we are presently. When you try and put up affordable housing project in North Minneapolis, for instance, the land is generally cheaper. You can get the project done easier, and there's usually less political pushback. That's just the reality. It takes the real guts to then move things forward and find ways to make it work in areas that are middle and upper income, which is what our city most definitely needs to push back on 100 years worth of segregation that we've seen. And so, yes, it costs more. Yes, it's more difficult, but it's absolutely worth it. And I appreciate the work that those others have done on the committee in some of these areas, from Councilmember Goodman to, well, all of them, Reich, Orsami, Quincy. It's necessary. So I'll go ahead and move that staff direction.
Are there any comments on the staff direction? I'll just note that the staff don't have to do that. We can do it too. The budget's in our hands.
It's true.
Find us something else you don't want to fund and put it into the trust fund. It could be more than $500,000. That's what the city council was elected to do, was determine what the priorities are and determine what we won't do, and so we'll do something else. And so I appreciate the assistance of staff in getting from here to there, but I also think it's incumbent upon all of us to determine what in the mayor's budget we won't fund and what we will. And we'll have those conversations in Councilmember Quincy's committee and determine if we can be at 5 or we could be at 2 million. I mean, there's, what is the list of projects that were not funded in full is almost, 8 million?
Yep.
I just want to let that number ring in. If we were to fund all of these projects, almost every one of which is worthy, I only say almost because I don't know the specifics of all of them, we'd need 8 million just to clear out those on our list.
Yep.
And that's in addition to the money we're putting into naturally occurring affordable housing efforts, tenants' rights and tenants organizing, potentially looking at models to help renters stay in their individual homes, help them and others purchase buildings that they can keep as affordable. So I would happily work with Councilmember Frey and the others on this panel to find money for the trust fund in this year's budget. And we'll work with staff, but we can also work amongst ourselves to determine what other departments in the city, whether it be the coordinator's office or other places, we can find money in order to put it into the trust fund.
Then last thing, Madam Chair, just to be very clear, support of this staff direction does not mean support of the underlying allocation. For instance, money could come forward that you would not want, maybe you don't want to move it into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund and you think that it's better spent elsewhere, and you can always vote no if and when that time rises. I just want to make that clear. We're just supporting to look for the money now.
On Councilmember Frey's staff direction, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. Seeing no further business before us, we are adjourned.